This is a tiny tutorial about copying and pasting. If you've been following the tiny tutorials at all, don't know if anybody has, but somewhere in there they added a couple of new features to tweak mode that I want to cover because they can be a little confusing to new players, and I believe in repetition for learning, so I will be repeating a lot of useful keyboard shortcuts if you're starting out in Landmark. I'm going to recommend, because I'm not going to explain exactly how I'm using this tool, this is the selection tool. And you use that in the copying and pasting process, and also when you're making templates. And also tweak mode, this stuff works with templates too, which I have a separate video for. Alright, so I have used the selection tool to enclose what I want to make a copy of. Alright, so it's all inside of here. You can tell if you don't have it fully inside because it'll light up blue and you'll see stuff sticking out. And that bit there looks weird, but it has a purpose, trust me. Okay, so I've got it all inside of there. Control C as in cat to copy. Control V as in victory. Escape to get rid of my tool in the background. And then you can simply just line things up and paste them if you want. But it can get a little bit wonky when you're trying to line things up higher. So the higher you go, sometimes that gets a little weird. That's where tweak mode comes in. So tweak mode, you hold down Control. It used to be Shift if you're returning. They changed that on us, which I've gotten used to now. I don't mind it anymore. And you'll get these directional arrows, and that allows you to line this up in a very specific sort of placement. So when you're building something tall or you're building something more complex than stairs, it's very useful to have tweak mode with these directional arrows to move in small increments. Okay, I'm gonna take all of this away so I still have some room here. And I'm going to, again, show you this. This is in another video, but I'm going to show you this again. This is the free rotation. Everything is on a north, south, east, west grid. So if you try to paste something and it's not lined up, just so you know, it will warp the voxels. The voxels are actually a complex structure under here that holds the materials, but that's how you make these really neat, crazy shapes. So if you do something like this, sometimes it's useful to copy and save some of these weird shapes, but if you're trying to make stairs, not so effective. So let me Control Z to get rid of that. Control V as in victory to bring it back up again. And also these Control V works with your templates if you're pulling something up multiple times. I'm holding down Control and left clicking. So rather than using that, if you want to stay on the grid, now you'll understand why I have this little doobob sticking out here. I recommend mirror mode, and that's going to just flip this on these axes. So it's a direct mirroring of however you're turning this. You can even go upside down, a little doobob on the bottom. That's the technical term for that, a doobob. And that way, when you paste it, you can line it up however you want with mirror mode. Okay. Excuse me. That existed before. But they added, and I'm going to use this weird shape that I made really quickly for this video to show you the super cool new thing. I'm going to hit Control C to copy that, Control V to bring it back out. I'm going to hold Control and left click. And now this time I'm going to show you what happens when you remove voxels. So I've hidden some green material under the ground here, but first I'm going to check that box. You'll get this funky blue color. You can sink it into the ground, and now when I click on it, I'm going to hit escape so we can clear that out of the way. It's actually cut into this obsidian that I have on the top layer. You can see the green that I've got underneath. So you can use this for etching. You can make all kinds of shapes, you know, where you can see the shape and then use that to sink it into the ground and cut it out of any surface. So out of your walls, out of your ground, whatever you want to do. All right, I'm going to get that out of there. I just like to clean my area, so Control Z to undo. Now pasting with and without air. So I'm going to get this here because I'm going to use this again in a moment. Control C to copy. Escape to cancel my tools. And then Control V to bring it up. Control left click to bring up this. Tweak mode again. Pasting with air voxels is going to remember that you've got space in between here. So if you see those blocks, there's negative space in there, is what you'd call it in art. So it's negative space. But that actually has a invisible voxel structure, if you will, underneath it, known as an air voxel. And if I paste it with the air voxels, it's going to remember the material, but it cut into the ground there. So I have one here with white, so it's a little easier to see. Now the opposite is what I've got here. This is when I pasted without air. So Control V to bring it up again. Control left click to get tweak mode. Uncheck this. If I sink it into the ground, I don't know what my problem is. Oh, there we go. Now I can see it. You can see the zigzags right there. And that just sunk that voxel into the ground, and it pastes it clean. The reason this is so important is if you've ever pulled out a template and you're trying to work, say, against a wall or against the ground, and you try to sink something. Stairs are a great example of this, which is why I chose stairs. I copied that again with Control C. Bring it up with Control V. So if I were to paste this with voxels, and maybe I want that first step in the ground, you're going to see here that that's not going to have a desired effect. It's cut out everything around this from when I enclosed it, because I was also enclosing all of that negative space, all the air voxels that are beneath here. So Control Z as in zebra to undo it, and if you uncheck that, you get a nice clean paste. So it sinks into the ground without cutting out that area. Alright, Control Z, and I'm going to show you one last thing, and that is that you can copy and paste with props. I think I covered this in another video, but it always bears repeating in case this is the first one you've seen. So now I've enclosed it. You don't have to have the entire prop in there, but just most of it. So even if I got flowers sticking out there somewhat, I Control C to copy it, Control V to paste it, and I can show you in my inventory I've got 2 of these large blood tear plants. So when I paste it, it's going to look like it has the prop. Now I'm out of these, so if I paste it a third time, I'm only going to get the materials and not the prop. So as long as you got the prop on hand, you can place it with copying. That trick also works with templates. And any of these things will work when you're pulling out a template when you go into tweak mode. Alright, that was a lot of information. Hopefully you got it all. I'll put up some annotations when I get a chance on this video so that you can back it up, repeat it, and remember all these shortcuts. Thanks for listening, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.